My problem started at 2011. Both when my husband and I were out working, all of a sudden our front yard, a very short pole, 25-foot tall pole, was replaced to a 65-foot cell tower. And we were very upset. We had our neighbors sign a petition to request to remove this cell tower away. And without any result. By this time, Rick Meyer contacted me and showed me how this whole fiasco started. Turns out, Rick Meyer discovered the so-called Note 9, which is the one in my front yard, supposed to be across the street and 2 houses down on a pole. That pole has no house nearby, which is a very, very nice location. But for some reason, the tower, for some reason, they just popped up into my front yard because of convenience. And so we discovered the whole process of oversight is totally broken. You know, they have the tower committee to review the selected site, and turns out, okay, the site is not where they put. However, the review committee still signed off and approved the result. So it's totally disconnected from where its original intent to the final result. Montgomery County right now basically is a shame having a totally broken system just for the simple 4G. And I can't imagine when the 5G, you know, the ZTA 19.07 started, what kind of chaos they're gonna create. They basically can pop up wherever in the middle of the street or in your front yard on the sidewalk to put in, and there's no recourse for the consumer to complain and adjudicate the issue. So we really need to remind Montgomery County the mistake they made, the holes they have in their current processing, and the even worse process they had in the future for the ZT 1907. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. When I speak about this around the country, people are astounded to hear that that has been placed in front of your home and the permit doesn't have that as the proper address and it's still there.
Yes, yeah. So we don't know what's the recourse, the way to change the situation. I already wrote to all the council members and the PEPCO, Crown Castle, they came over to take a look. Yeah, okay, we understand the issue, but there's no action to correct it. So that's a problem.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's incredible. I can't believe it's been so many years. Rick Meyer, please.
Hey, and you, Vic. So poll that I actually studied the situation on back in 2017 when we got started in this was the cell pole in front of her house. And I figured if we could get an answer to how that pole went up, we could figure out why this dysfunction in the regulatory processes of wireless facilities on cell poles continues. And I'm sorry, Vicki, here I am 4 years later, having told you that we were going to get that pole removed, and it's still there. It's been there now for 10 years. And it has been a continuous process of deflection and finger pointing by various of the government. So let me explain to you how that and why that is. First, a quick introduction. Rick Meyer, the executive director of the Montgomery County Coalition for the Control of Cell Towers. What we started doing back in 2017 was researching these cell poles all over the county and trying to figure out how they got there. Were they compliant with what the Tower Committee, which under our wireless ordinances are supposed to regulate these things. And what we discovered going around the county, I think unfortunately the county records are inconsistent. We think there's less than 100 pole-mounted wireless facilities, cell poles in Montgomery County right now. But what we found out was more than 20% of them were non-compliant with the wireless ordinance. And when we went to the Tower Committee, when we went to the Department of Permitting Services, we were given deflections, we were given non-answers, silence, we were given incredulous reactions like, well, how could they have gotten a permit? And on and on and on. But no one ever would answer our question until very, very recently. In fact, just last week, we finally got an admission on videotape as part of a public information meeting that was being held for strand-mounted facilities, a completely new technology that's being introduced. A member of the Department of Permitting Services, very senior member actually, admitted that there is a what they call a two-step process right now when it comes to utility poles. And what that process means is that the Department of Permitting Services completely ignores the wireless ordinances, because they found a different ordinance that covers utility poles. And that ordinance says that the utility-owned pole cannot be issued a building permit. So they turn a blind eye to any changes, any modifications, any relocations, including what happened to Vicky Ho 10 years ago, turn a completely blind eye to actions by the utility company at the request of and the reimbursement of a wireless provider if they make or change or modify or relocate that pole. And as in other words, allows everybody to sidestep any regulation of utility-owned poles. Now, why is that important? Because ZTA 1907 is about to unleash the floodgates. We are expecting hundreds more applications, and I mean hundreds more applications. And we now know that 1907 is a sham because if it's on a utility-owned pole, that first critical step, where they're going to make the pole bigger, where they're going to put it in a different location, where they're going to shove it 42 feet in front of somebody's house or closer than even 30 feet to somebody's house, will not be subject to any regulation by the Department of Permitting Services. It also means it's not subject to any regulations by the Tower Committee or the Office of the Zoning and Hearing Examiner, regardless of what the Tower Committee says. And there have been situations where the Tower Committee has required conditional use hearings. Regardless of all of that, they ignore it. So this dysfunction, which unfortunately the chief sponsor of this bill has chosen to sidestep and ignore as well, is going to continue. And I apologize, Vicki, because in all likelihood, there will be hundreds more, if not more than that, hundreds more residents in Montgomery County that are about to see wireless facilities jammed in close proximity to their houses, and they will be able to do nothing. And this ordinance will do nothing to protect them.
Thank you, Rick.
I'd like to add something. May I have 1 minute?
Okay.
Okay, this pole in front of my house, only 32 feet from my children's bedroom, it keep on creating loud buzzing noise during summertime. So the Petco and the Tower Committee, the Crown Castle sent a technician. What do you think they did? They installed a big fan in there, try to cool down the system. So turns out we are not only having the loud buzzing sound during summertime, and also the loud fan noise. So you can imagine if they install the 5G, which is a millimeter wave, which will use much more higher energy, and the buzzing sound and the fan and everything, it caused the noise pollution to all the neighborhoods.
Vicki, be sure to remind them that it's 68 feet tall. The pole that was there originally was 25 feet. Yes. So they put 40 more feet. If you drive to see this pole, you can see it a half mile from her house. ZTA 1907 will only allow people that are 300 feet to any pole to have any say if there's any objection to be raised under certain circumstances. You can see her pole from a half mile on her road. 68 pole. It dwarfs everything on that road. It's higher and taller than the surrounding distribution lines where it was supposed to have been. And it's absolutely incredulous when you see it. And by the way, it's not the tallest in your neighborhood, unfortunately, but it is certainly the most obvious because of the layout on the road.